could the most terrifying world in our solar system be one that looks almost exactly like Earth? Imagine a planet so familiar in size and gravity, yet its surface can crush metal, ignite machinery, and strip apart anything that lands there. For decades, this nightmare world became the graveyard of spacecraft. This is the astonishing story of the armored Soviet probes that survived the descent, captured the unimaginable, and exposed why humanity has kept its distance ever since. At the dawn of the space race, Mars was an afterthought. The real obsession was Venus. Through a telescope, Venus is completely shielded by an impenetrable layer of thick, white clouds. In the early 1960s, top astronomers genuinely believed those clouds hid a dense atmosphere and a warm climate. Scientists pictured our neighboring planet as a lush, tropical rainforest teeming with alien insects and exotic flora. But a young astronomer named Carl Sagan had a darker theory. He hypothesized that a runaway greenhouse effect had boiled the planet dry, turning it into a planetary furnace. There was only one way to find out who was right. We had to go there. In 1961, the Soviet Union launched their first probes, Venera 1 and 2, in pairs. Predictably, both suffered total electronic failures in deep space. While the Soviets scrambled, NASA sneaked in a massive victory. In 1962, NASA's Mariner 2 successfully flew past Venus. Its brief scan confirmed Sagan's worst nightmare. Orbital readings detected surface temperatures exceeding 450 degrees Fahrenheit and a towering layer of clouds extending 50 miles high. Think you could survive even a second in this planetary furnace? Drop a hell no in the comments and hit that like button if you're glad to be on Earth right now. NASA quickly realized Venus was utterly hostile, packed up their planetary ambitions, and pivoted hard toward the Moon and Mars. But the Soviets refused to quit. With the Americans backing away, the surface of Venus was theirs for the taking. By 1966, Soviet spacecraft were getting heavier. Venera 3 slammed into Venus like a hypersonic cannonball, making it the first human-made object to crash into another planet. Then came Venera 4. In 1967, it became the first spacecraft to successfully transmit data from inside an alien atmosphere. As the capsule drifted through the upper clouds, the readings were surprisingly pleasant, similar to a warm summer day on Earth. But as the probe sank deeper, the descent became a horror story. The temperature spiked wildly. But more terrifying than the heat was the pressure. The atmosphere of Venus is 96% carbon dioxide. At lower altitudes, the immense weight of all that gas compresses the CO2 into a bizarre state of matter called a supercritical fluid. This fluid behaves like a gas, but has the physical density of a liquid. Plunging through it is less like falling through air, and more like sinking an anvil into a boiling ocean. After 90 minutes of transmitting, Venera 4's telemetry suddenly flatlined at an altitude of 17 miles. The atmospheric pressure became so violently heavy that the reinforced titanium hull of the probe was crushed like an empty soda can. The Soviets realized they weren't building spacecraft anymore. To survive on Venus, they needed deep-sea submarines capable of operating inside a blast furnace. Knowing their next two probes, Venera 5 and 6, were structurally doomed, they launched them anyway. Both imploded in the crushing abyss. Entering the 1970s, the USSR desperately needed a planetary victory. To survive the landing, engineers radically redesigned Venera 7 and 8. They stripped out delicate gear and replaced it with a massively thick, solid steel outer shell. Inside, the core instruments were sealed within a reinforced titanium sphere. To combat the blistering heat, they packed the sphere with advanced chemical ice packs and pre-chilled the entire probe to -8 degrees Celsius. On August 17, 1970, Venera 7 entered the Venusian sky. Almost immediately, things went completely wrong. The intense heat and friction shredded the parachute. The multi-ton steel sphere plummeted into the abyss, accelerating to nearly 40 miles per hour before slamming violently into the solid rock below. Back in Moscow, the telemetry screens went dark. Engineers assumed another total loss. But minutes later, a faint, garbled signal pinged on the monitors. Venera 7 had likely bounced and rolled onto its side, snapping its main antenna, but it was transmitting. The data it sent back was absolutely jaw-dropping. The surface temperature was 887 degrees Fahrenheit. That is hot enough to instantly melt lead, zinc, and tin into a glowing puddle. Atmospheric pressure reached an unfathomable 1,350 pounds per square inch. That is 92 times the pressure we feel on Earth. Standing there physically feels like standing 3,000 feet deep in the ocean, except the water is replaced by boiling, toxic, supercritical carbon dioxide. And just to add a little insult to injury, the thick clouds above were raining pure sulfuric acid. Thankfully, the surface is so ridiculously hot that this acid rain evaporates before it ever hits the ground. A weird meteorological phenomenon known as virga. It is an environment so extreme that human biology cannot even comprehend it. Yet, the Soviets were just getting started. They had proven they could land. Now, they wanted to take a picture. Taking a photo on Venus is an engineering nightmare. Standard glass lenses would instantly shatter from the pressure or melt from the heat. So the Soviets carved custom lenses out of thick, solid quartz. By 1975, the Soviets had mastered the art of interplanetary brute force. Venera 9 and 10 were absolute leviathans. Each spacecraft weighed over 10,000 pounds. Because the supercritical lower atmosphere of Venus is as thick as water, you don't even need a parachute to slow down. Engineers designed a massive, hat-like metal ring for the top of the probe, called an aerobrake. The metal disc simply rode the dense fluid friction all the way to a soft touchdown. It was a masterpiece of extreme engineering. In October 1975, Venera 9 touched down, popped off its protective lens caps, and beamed back a piece of history. For the very first time, humanity looked upon the surface of another planet. The black and white image revealed a desolate, alien wasteland. Instead of a tropical jungle, astronomers saw a shattered, volcanic hellscape littered with sharp, jagged rocks. In 1981, Venera 13 landed and delivered something even more spectacular: the first color photographs of Venus. The images showed a sickly, yellowish-orange sky pressing down on vast, flat plains of basalt rock. Because the dense atmosphere filters out all blue light, the entire world is bathed in this eerie, glowing golden hue. But Venera 13 didn't just take pictures. It carried a titanium-encased acoustic microphone. As the probe sat baking on the surface, it recorded the howling, deep-pitched winds of the Venusian atmosphere. It is one of the most haunting audio tracks ever captured, the literal sound of a dying titanium robot being swallowed by an alien ocean of gas. The probe even deployed a mechanical drill, grinding into the 900-degree bedrock. It discovered that the ground was composed of heavily oxidized volcanic basalt, proving that Venus was geologically complex. Designed to survive just 32 minutes, Venera 13 miraculously fought the heat and pressure for a record-breaking 127 minutes before its hull finally breached and the electronics melted. Then came Venera 14, which brought a moment of pure, tragicomic irony. The lander was equipped with a spring-loaded mechanical arm to test the soil's squishiness. When it landed, the protective camera lens cap successfully popped off and fell to the ground. Then, the mechanical arm swung down to test the soil. But the lens cap had landed perfectly underneath the testing arm. After traveling 40 million miles and surviving a descent into hell, Venera 14 scientifically tested the compressibility of its own camera cap. Venera 14 was the last time a human-made object successfully operated on the surface of Venus. The Soviet Venera program ended right as the Soviet Union itself was collapsing. Leadership priorities changed, and the massive space budget evaporated in the early 1990s. Meanwhile, NASA just did the math. Why spend billions of dollars building a hyper-armored titanium vault that melts in 2 hours, when you can send a robotic rover to Mars that will happily drive around taking high-definition video for 15 years? Mars offered longevity and a massive scientific return on investment. Venus offered instant, expensive death. So for decades, Venus was deemed a dead, static world, a planetary fossil that wasn't worth our time. But recently, the scientific community has been forced to rethink everything we know about our twisted twin. In 2024, planetary geologists made a stunning breakthrough. Using modern algorithms to reanalyze 30-year-old radar data from NASA's Magellan orbiter, they found something extraordinary. Volcanic vents on giant shield volcanoes, including Mont Mons, had changed shape and expanded over just 8 months. That discovery changed everything. Venus is not a dead planet. It is geologically active. Its volcanoes may still be erupting today. Then came the biological wildcard. In recent years, independent teams of astronomers have repeatedly detected traces of phosphine in Venus's upper atmosphere. On Earth, phosphine is considered a potential biosignature because it is associated mostly with living processes. Suddenly, Venus is no longer just a dead world. It is an active, erupting mystery, and humanity is finally going back. By the early 2030s, a new fleet of missions will return. NASA's Veritas orbiter will map the planet in stunning 3D detail, while Vinci will send a descent sphere through the atmosphere to study its chemistry, search for organic compounds, and capture images on the way down. The European Space Agency will join the effort with EnVision. We may not be landing long-term machines on the surface yet, but the spirit of the Venera program lives on. Those Soviet probes proved that human ingenuity could reach into one of the harshest environments in the solar system. Venus destroyed nearly every machine we sent there, but it never destroyed our curiosity. And very soon, we are going to find out what else our twisted sister is hiding in the dark. If you're brave enough to explore the rest of the cosmos with us, hit subscribe and join the crew. See you in the next voyage.